We have yet another pitching prospect promotion. Let's discuss on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5. Today is Thursday, May 11th. I am Frank Sanford, joined by Chris Towers, and let's talk about Eury Perez, who will make his Marlins debut this Friday. Arguably a top 3 pitching prospect entering the season. He's 6'8", just turned 20 years old. The numbers were amazing down in AA. Chris, what are your expectations for Eury Perez, and is he a must-add at 37% rostered?
I will answer the second question first. I think he is a must-add starting pitcher. I would drop someone like Edward Cabrera for him. I would even drop Lance Lynn for him after another rocky start. That's not to say I think Lance Lynn's just done, but I'm very excited about Eury Perez. Now, that being said, he has never thrown more than 77 innings in a season. He is making the jump not from AAA, but from AA. So that's asking even more. He turned 26 days ago. And this is a weird thing, but AA is using a different baseball. They are the testing ground for MLB trying to get around the sticky stuff issue. And they're using a pre-tacked baseball that is more like the baseballs they use in Japan. And it's led to a lot of complaints. There was a piece in The Athletic about this last week. If you want to check it out, I think it was by one of the Angels beat writers, if I remember correctly. But anyway, it's just to say that there is always an adjustment period making the leap to the majors. And for Eury Perez and any pitcher who's pitching the Southern League, that could be even more so. That being said, he throws 98 miles an hour, 99 miles an hour. He's 6'8". He's got great command. That's the thing that really stands out about him in the scouting reports, which you don't necessarily see with guys who are 6'8". You don't necessarily see guys who are 6'8" generally, but this is not necessarily an Edward Cabrera situation where we're going to be worried about walks. Eury Perez, 2.9 walks per 9 in his career, has been very good at AA, lots of strikeouts, 4 pitch mix. He may not work out. That's always the caveat, especially now with the way rookies have gone lately, but I'm very excited about the upside for Eury Perez. He was a top 15 prospect coming into the season. Go at him.
Of course, again, temper expectations. We've seen guys like Brandon Pfaadt get called up recently and, falter. And, it's been kind of a rocky road for prospects so far this season. But Eury Perez, outside of Grayson Rodriguez, he was the highest ranked prospect coming into the season, even higher than Tanner Bybee and Bryce Miller and those names. I wouldn't drop those guys for Eury Perez, but just to give you an idea of the type of talent and upside that Eury Perez has. Let's stick with some pitchers and some unfortunate news as Max Fried and Kyle Wright are both expected to miss at least 2 months of action for the Atlanta Braves. Drop them way down the rankings. Max Fried just outside the top 40. Kyle Wright outside the top 70. There is a chance that Mike Soroka could start this weekend, but he's attempting to come back from a second torn Achilles, and the numbers do not look good down in the minors. So do not add Mike Soroka, and unfortunately, we're going to have to wait quite some time for those Braves pitchers to return. Chris, I want to ask you about Christopher Morel, who had another big game here on Wednesday, 2 for 4 with a double and 2 RBI, 2 batted balls over 109 miles per hour. He's 33% rostered. I think he needs to be added at least in every roto or categories league, maybe not in points leagues.
Yeah, I think that's the distinction, right? Because his profile doesn't necessarily work for points leagues anyway. He's a power speed guy with a ton of strikeouts, bad plate discipline, and we're not sure if he's an everyday player for the Cubs moving forward. I think he probably should be somewhere. He's outfield and second base eligible, but he played shortstop and third base pretty extensively last season, not enough to get eligibility, but yeah, he's played about 170 games at the AA and AAA levels. He's got 36 homers, 25 stolen bases. I think you could be looking at a player who gives you, similar production to like the off-peak Javier Baez seasons. And we saw a little bit of that last season. He was I think a 16-10 guy in 110 or so games. So, there's 2015 upside here for sure.
Let's wrap up with just ranking a few waiver wire pitchers real quick. 3 names that stood out from Wednesday's action: Seth Lugo, Josiah Gray, and Brian Bayo. Chris, how would you rank those 3?
I think I'm trying to remember what I said on the full show. I think I went Josiah Gray, Brian Bayo, Seth Lugo in that order. And partially Josiah Gray has Detroit at Miami next week, which is about as good of a set of matchups as you can have in a 2-start week. Bayo, significant upside as he showed in this start, 4 swinging strikes or more with 4 different pitches. But obviously most of his major league career has been kind of a disaster to date. So don't necessarily trust him yet. And then Lugo, I think he's fine. I think he's probably like a high 3 ERA pitcher rather than a low 3 ERA pitcher, but he's fine. I have no problem with him.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Audacy app, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.